It looks like wearing a mask doesn't seem to be a problem at all in the East, but in the West, there are a lot of protests and anti-maskers. Why is that? I think there are three major reasons. The first reason is that people are waiting for definitive evidence that masks actually work. The second reason is that some believe wearing a mask is more dangerous and harmful. For example, some fear that people would constantly fiddle with the mask and then touch their nose and eyes, thereby self-infecting. In addition, if you have a mask, you feel more protected and take more risks, but all of these are all speculative and unsupported by evidence. The last one is individualism versus collectivism. In the West, during the outbreak, there were a lot of people who refused to social distance, and their ingrained Western mentality of self-preservation is exactly what hurt the most. Before COVID, I asked a Japanese friend of mine why so many Japanese people wear a mask in the street. He said they might be sick and they might cough, so when they cough, they don't want to give it to other people. And wearing a mask is better for the public and others. It's the right thing to do. Whereas in the West, some think mandatory masks violate the First Amendment, a person's constitutional right to liberty and to make decisions about their own health and bodily integrity. But the Constitution doesn't have a problem with mask mandates. A mask doesn't keep you from expressing yourself. Sure, it limits where and how you can speak, but for the most part, you can still speak and express freely. Furthermore, constitutional law scholars and judges call these time, place, and manner restrictions. Additionally, the First Amendment, like all liberties ensured by the Constitution, is not absolute. They are subject to the government's authority to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the community. It has nothing to do with your rights. A right is something that every person is born with and cannot be given, taken away, or denied by anyone. A right does not need to be earned or worked for. For example, access to water and sanitation are recognized by the UN as human rights because these are the basic needs in every person's life. And it seems like we all feel okay that everyone has to drive on one side of the road. And we also feel okay to ban nudity in public. And murder is not okay in our society. Our laws limit what we can do because we need order, and these rules and laws are not arbitrary. They are there for a reason. Of course, I think if the government is just asking everyone to cover a part of their body without any reasons, that would be problematic. But the thing is that we are fighting a war against COVID-19, and we have a reason to wear a mask. It is true that in the earliest stage of the pandemic, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the World Health Organization did not recommend masks and added a lot of confusion in the beginning. But now they do, and the health experts say the evidence is clear that masks can help prevent the spread of COVID-19 and that the more people wearing masks, the better. And there is no evidence that says wearing a mask is harmful to your health. Some people with pre-existing respiratory conditions may be at risk with prolonged use of tight-fitting masks like N95, and those masks aren't recommended for the general public. What evidence do we have that wearing a mask is effective in preventing COVID-19? The strongest evidence in favor of masks comes from studies of real-world scenarios. According to UC San Francisco epidemiologist George Rutherford, he says, the most important thing are the epidemiological data because it would be unethical to assign people to not wear a mask during a pandemic. The epidemiological evidence has come from so-called experiments of nature. A recent study published in Health Affairs, for example, compared the COVID-19 growth rate before and after mask mandates in 15 states and the District of Columbia. It found that mask mandates led to a slowdown in daily COVID-19 growth rate, which became more apparent over time. The first 5 days after mandate, the daily growth rate showed a 0.9 percentage points compared to 5 days prior to the mandate, and 3 weeks, the daily growth rate had slowed by 2 percentage points. So with all of the evidence and the reasons, I don't think the government is taking our freedom away from us. Wearing a mask is not just some arbitrary thing that comes out of nowhere. And to think about it, if you want to be nude, go to a nude beach. If you want to drive on the left side of the road, go to Hong Kong or the UK. If you don't want to wear a mask, get vaccinated and go to a place where wearing a mask is not required. According to the American Association of Retired Persons, many states eased or eliminated mask orders in May and June after the US CDC said fully vaccinated people can safely forego face covering in most public settings. So basically, they are saying that if it looks like you are protected and potentially not spreading COVID, you don't have to wear a mask in most public settings. For a while, it was the case, but after the Delta variant came, they issued a revised guidance. And I think if it's necessary and it helps, no doubt that we should wear a mask. But what I'm trying to say is that the government is not taking away our freedom. They will let us go mask-free if things are under control. A lot of experts said that COVID is going to be with us for a very long time, and the Delta variant is adding fuel to the fire, and there might be other variants coming in the future. I agree, and it looks like we will have to be wearing a mask for a very long time. So now, for us investors, where do we invest and where should we watch out? There are 3 companies that make the most coronavirus N95 masks. Kimberly-Clark is up 3.5% year-to-date, Honeywell is up 12% year-to-date, and 3M is up 16% year-to-date. If COVID-19 becomes seasonal, I think these are great mid to long-term investments. Some other good companies that are benefiting from COVID-19 are the mRNA-based therapy innovators. Moderna and BioNTech both benefit from their booster vaccine development, and year-to-date, Moderna is up 270%, and BioNTech is up 340%. Pfizer is only 30% up, but it just became the first COVID vaccine to gain full FDA approval. For these reasons, I think investors shouldn't hesitate to get some exposure to these 3 companies. One place that I think we should be a little bit more careful is the consumer discretionary sector. I think there might be more and more short sellers coming into this sector. According to new data from S&P Global Market Intelligence, short sellers held 4.57% of outstanding shares in the S&P 500 consumer discretionary sector at the end of July. And in August, the consumer discretionary sector has been among the worst performers of the S&P 500. So you should watch out for companies that are not adjusting their strategies to the current COVID situation. However, Nike, Starbucks, McDonald's, and Disney are doing better than most. Nike built a strong digital ecosystem around apps like SNKRS, and they also have the Nike Training Club. Revenue growth has been sluggish during the pandemic, but Nike still delivers solid profits. Starbucks, as of December 2020, has more than 33,000 locations worldwide, and they plan to have 55,000 locations by 2030. That shows growth is still strong. McDonald's still keeps customers coming for more, and their drive-thrus helped a lot during the pandemic, better than most other restaurant chains. Disney reopened some of their parks. Disney Plus and Hulu Live have been doing very well, and its 174 million members are catching up with Netflix's 210 million. In conclusion, wear a mask when you are out. As for where to invest our money, watch out for the short sellers in the consumer discretionary sector closely. Kimberly-Clark, Honeywell International, and 3M, they are all in the mask business. They are looking pretty good. Moderna, BioNTech, Pfizer have been massively rallied but still looking good. Nike, Starbucks, McDonald's, and Disney are some of the best performing stocks in the consumer discretionary sector that have been greatly discounted. So, if you are looking for an opportunity to get some exposure, now might be it. Okay, that's it for today's video. Let me know what you think about mask mandates in the comment section. Like and subscribe. This is Grant. Trade and invest responsibly.